Hey guys, it's Dan from ShastaBubba Adventures, and today I've been really looking forward to telling you all about my 5 favorite luxury items. So, what does it mean to call something a luxury item? Well, basically it means anything that is unnecessary weight. So that might be something that I bring along that I didn't really need to bring, or maybe there's a lighter version of it that I could have gone with instead. And it's kind of fun and ironic that we're filming in the cabin today. I've got a beautiful fire going and it's a lovely January winter day. Ironic because this was where I filmed the very first video that I did about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And in that video, I actually gave an example of a luxury item, and it was my travel clock. And I've probably talked about this in a couple of videos because it's one of my favorite luxury items. This is the Timex Indigo travel clock. I'd like to be able to say any travel clock will do, but this one actually has some features that make it unique, in my eyes at least. First off, it's a very simple design. It's just a clock with an alarm. So it doesn't tell me the time in Tokyo, it's not a shortwave radio, and that means that the operating is very intuitive and simple. You don't need to memorize the owner's manual in order to use it. And second is I really like the fact that it's very easy to find. The on switch for the light is the snooze button. So you just push that and it comes on, and if you let go it fades after a few seconds. But I can also hold my thumb on that light and it stays on for a little while, which is handy to be able to use it as a flashlight if I'm looking for something else in the middle of the night. And because it's that blue-green light, it doesn't destroy my night vision the way that my headlamp would. Another thing I like about this clock is that it operates on just one AA battery, and that makes it even lighter than a lot of the other competitors. This actually weighs 2¼ ounces. So in terms of extra weight, it's not a lot of extra weight for a luxury item. Now, what makes this extra? Well, if you've watched my travel videos, I imagine you've probably seen this little timepiece hanging off of me. This is a little Carabiner watch that I usually hang on my belt loop because I like to keep track of the time while I'm hiking. I like to stop every hour just for a 5 or 10 minute break, and that lets me be consistent and manage those long mile days. So I have a timepiece. I don't need a second one, but if I was to use this at night, it would be harder to find, and I would also have to find my headlamp and turn that on in order to read it. So what I usually do when I make camp is I have this little table area. It's not really a table. I just think of it like a nightstand beside my head, and I can plunk this down in the middle of that, and I know exactly where to grab for it in the middle of the night. And I only have to hit that button, and the numbers are big enough that an old guy like me can see it without having to find my glasses too. So that's my #1 luxury item. And by the way, I will put links in the description below to all of these 5 luxury items. And they will be affiliate links, which means that if you click on the link and buy the item, I will receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. However, this one is not an affiliate link because I wasn't able to find it on Amazon. It's actually a link to the Rick Steves website, which is kind of fun. I've always enjoyed Rick Steves' work, but I never thought I'd be making a link to his website on one of my videos. My second favorite luxury item is my Acurite thermometer. Now this, again, is just very simple. It tells me everything I want to know and nothing I don't want to know. So in big numbers, it has the current temperature, and then the smaller numbers, it's got the minimum and the maximum for the last 24 hours. So that is very convenient. I also tied on a little string, some leftover cordage from Lawson Equipment, and a little carabiner. I think this is the smallest one made by Night Ease, very easy to find. So there's a loop that hangs down from the seam in my shelter. When I set that up, I can just hang this from the loop, and then it's really easily available for me to check the temperature whenever I want to at night or in the morning. Another thing I like about this is that because it keeps the minimum, I used to turn on my headlamp and check the thermometer about 3 or 4 in the morning, just because I figured that was probably the coldest point, and I wanted to know how cold did it get last night, not what time is it in the morning when I'm getting up. Well, I don't have to do that with this because it logs that for me. This is just really durable and inexpensive. I believe it's about $20, less than $20. And I've had this for about 3 years now, so the plastic is a little scratched up, but the unit is working just fine. One of the nicest features about this, though, is that the battery is easily removable. It's just a little drawer that slides out, and then that saves the battery. I usually take this out every morning, put it in my ditty bag, and then when I'm setting up camp at night, I just slide it back in there, clicks in, and it's working almost immediately. So that makes the battery last just forever. So that's my second most favorite luxury item, the Acurite thermometer. When you're backpacking, one of the most important and most elusive things to find is a good night's sleep. And so for me, one of the struggles with that is getting a good pillow. In the old days, we used to use all of our extra gear stuffed in a stuff sack, and that was an easy pillow to use. But these days, with ultralight backpacking, I don't actually have extra gear to be able to put in a stuff sack. If I have a puffy, I'm usually wearing that just to augment the heat of my quilt. So what I use is a down pillow from Goosefeet Gear. Now these are really awesome because then you have your face against the down instead of against an inflatable pillow. And there is a sleeve sewn in the back side, so that's where I do slide in. Actually, this is a 1 liter collapsible water container from Platypus. I can slide that in, inflate that, and then that gives me the loft that I need in order to be able to sleep on this. Also, I tied a little bungee around the back, and Goosefeet Gear does come with a sewn-in loop right here on the end of it, and then the other side has a drawstring cord that keeps whatever you put in to that sleeve in place. So I just tied the bungee to the other end of that drawstring cord, and what that does is it goes over the inflatable sleeping pad and keeps the pillow in place, which for me is huge because I tend to roll around a lot and I always end up pushing the pillow off the end of the pad, and then I have to wake up several times during the night and reposition that. So those two things help me a lot to get a good night's sleep, having a down pillow and also having it stay in place. So I thought I was very clever in the beginning to have this be a multi-use item because I would want to be carrying extra water container in case I had long stretches in between water sources. And I carried this for about 2 years, I think, before I finally woke up to the fact that I never once used the extra water container. So it really wasn't all that clever to use. And I embraced the fact that this was just a pure luxury item, which means I went with a larger version. This is also from Goosefeet Gear, and it's not the largest that they make, but almost the largest. This setup, both the pillow and the water container are 3 1/4 ounces. Bumping up to this larger size only made it 5 1/2 ounces. And for this one, I just use the Climate X pillow, and that gives the loft that I need, and this is super comfortable. So really, I'm happy with this as my third luxury item. In that first video, I also talked about how there tends to be kind of a yo-yo effect with people going ultralight. So it gets kind of addictive to just shave off ounces, more ounces, and look for the lightest possible version of everything. But then after a while, you start mindfully and carefully adding back in weight where it really matters to you. And while we're talking about sleep, probably the most commonly added back in item would be a sleeping pad. So that's my number 4 luxury item, is the Therm-a-rest X-Lite. And for me, I got the long and wide version, went all in on that. So that's 77 inches long and 25 inches wide, and the weight comes in at 16 ounces. So for me, what that does, I'm about 6 feet, so that allows the pillow to stay put on the pad at the head, and my feet are also still on the pad. But most importantly is I tend to be a side sleeper, and the Therm-a-rest X-Lite keeps my hips off the ground, and that alone makes the sleep so much better and well worth bringing the extra weight, although it's not a ton of extra weight. Really, it's only 7 ounces heavier than a full-length ridge rest. And it's also a much higher R value, and I'll put that statistic in the captions here. So for me, it's worth it for the comfort and the increased warmth to add in 7 more ounces for the Therm-a-rest X-Lite long and wide. Number 5 on my list is a big one, and it's my pack, which is the HMG 3400, and this is the Junction version, which means there's a net front pocket and solid side pockets. So one of the things I like about this pack is that it's DCF, and that means that it's virtually waterproof, so it spares me from having to bring along or mess with a pack cover. So I also own the Arc Blast from Z-Packs, which is only 19 ounces, whereas the HMG pack is 34 ounces, so almost double the weight. And if you're interested in all the specific details of comparison between those two packs, I'll make a link to the video I did making those comparisons and explaining why I prefer the HMG pack over the Z-Packs. But the biggest reason is just that it hauls better. It's just got a much better suspension system. And my typical pack weight on most trips tends to fall around 25 to 27 pounds. And the Arc Blast is a good pack up to about 20 pounds. Anything over that just doesn't feel comfortable. Whereas the Junction is good really up to, I've had over 30, I think 34 pounds, maybe is my heaviest for a week-long trip, and it still hauls just fine. So much greater flexibility in this, and that makes it worth it for me to carry so much more weight, 34 ounces versus 19 ounces. Okay, so those are my top 5 favorite luxury items, and I would really love to hear from you what your favorite luxury items are. So please make a comment in the comment section below. It's always fun to talk about gear, and especially the fun gear. So let us know what your favorite luxury items are. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.